You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible.
Yeah, journalist Katie Couric recently recounted a story from a 2004 Dateline interview she did with Denzel Washington that she said left her shaken. Listen to what she said in this podcast.
I had a very uncomfortable interview once with Denzel Washington about the remake of The Manchurian Candidate, and I think he totally misconstrued a question I asked and kind of jumped all over me, and it was so uncomfortable. I just remember leaving it and thinking, God, you know, I must have, I don't think I said anything wrong. I don't know what happened. Anyway, I think he must have been having a really bad day because he later wrote a big check to my colon cancer organization, which I thought was super sweet. And I love him. I admire him so much. He's one of my favorite actors. But I remember walking out and feeling really kind of shaken that he had kind of gone after me in a way that was completely, weirdly uncalled for.
What was interesting about this, and again, all four of you, I found to be interesting. She asked him about this question: should Hollywood actors stick to acting? His response was, "I'm not a Hollywood folk. I don't know who they are." She then tried to rephrase the question, but then he interrupted. He's saying he wasn't one of those people. Then she talked about being an actor, and he said, "Look, I'm a human being." In fact, here's the transcript. Denzel, do you feel you know some people say Hollywood folks should stick to acting? Denzel, I don't know what Hollywood folks are, first of all. Hollywood is a town that has some stars on the sidewalk. I don't know anybody from there. So that's like saying, calling you a type of folks. I'm not a Hollywood folk. I don't know who they are. Couric, okay, all right. Well, let me rephrase the question. Are you one of those people that, he says, there you go. Am I one of those people? Isn't that interesting? She goes, oh, stop. He says, no, don't stop. I heard what you just said. Am I one of those people? No, I'm not. No. Are you an actor who would rather not? No, I'm not an actor either. I'm not that either. I'm a human being. My job is acting. Okay, are you somebody who would rather not express his political views publicly? I mean, how do you feel about that? Some people are more outspoken than others. And what I meant, are you one of those people who would rather keep it private? Don't make my questions loaded when they're not. Washington, would I rather keep it private? No, I am not one of those people. I think I speak what's on my mind. Rob, do you understand what Denzel was getting at? And do you think that Katie Couric is being just a wee bit too sensitive herself?
Yes to both, both of those questions. I'll say, I guess she is so used to Denzel and sees any black man that might get an attitude with her as threatening. Like, just because he wasn't smiling or he wasn't saying what she wants to hear, somehow he's threatening, and that made her uncomfortable, which is ridiculous. You're a reporter. So if people disagree with you, you become uncomfortable. Like, I read the transcript, and I said there's got to be more here. And the only thing I could surmise is that maybe Katie Couric needs to find a way to get in the news again so she can pull up ratings for something she's trying to do. Maybe she's writing a book. Because I have no understanding of why she felt threatened or uncomfortable. It just seemed like she's really, really sensitive and shouldn't have been a reporter.
Kelly.
I don't know if you've heard about, people talking about white women who do things like this as being called Karens. This is definitely a Karen move. And I hate the fact that they call it Karen because my mother's name is Karen and, I digress. But for her to go this far over something that is over a decade old, 16 years old? This interview Manchurian came out in 2004. And in 2020, you bring up something that happened 16 years ago that, frankly, you actually did do. You did look like journalists know how to ask questions to glean the answer that they're looking for. So the fact that Denzel Washington did not fall for the trap of basically saying actors should stay in their lane she probably felt threatened by the fact that he didn't fall for her trap, not the fact that he actually stood up for himself. So that is the real key here. She really did load onto a question. It's a leading question. Lawyers do it. Journalists do it. People who want to trap people into questions do it all the time. He didn't fall for it. She got salty. And apparently 16 years later, she's still salty about it. So, just go about your day. You're great on Instagram. Stay there.
Well, here's the deal. I mean, look, Robert, the reality is, I can bring up a story from 16, 20 years ago and recount that story. I think the fact that she talked about how shook she was. So just, I'm going to give my thoughts on it, but just you go ahead and weigh in.
Well, I think that this is an insult to Karens everywhere. This is not Karen behavior. This is straight Becky behavior. Because what she's doing is taking the fact that a black man would not submit to her, answer the question that she asked the way that he wanted it to be asked, and then started crying about it and said that she was so offended and so shaken by the fact that this man had the nerve. How dare you not say what I told you to say? And this goes part and parcel of the over-criminalization of African Americans within our criminal justice system. This goes towards the fact that right now, even with public health recommendations being that black men are supposed to wear masks while out in public, but we have to deal with the double consciousness and the fact that we understand that we are going to be looked at differently wearing a mask in public than other people wearing a mask in public, and just the oblivious nature of her to really try to turn herself into the victim in a situation where she was the actual aggressor. She wins the award for Becky of the Month.
Avis, your assessment.
I have to agree. Becky's be Beckian, okay? That was a classic Becky move, woe is me move, okay? It is insulting, and it is weaponized. Let's just say what that is. She weaponized her Beckydom in that moment, suggesting that, in essence, this big black man scared me and made me feel threatened. Because she apparently was embarrassed, and for some unknown reason, and I believe that maybe she does have some motive that we are unaware of in terms of wanting to draw publicity to her at this moment, because otherwise, why the heck bring this up again? But ultimately, it continues to bother her that she was outsmarted by this black man, by this intelligent, beautiful, and talented black man. And so it is very interesting to me that all of a sudden she plays, as Robert rightly said, this classic Becky move, and it's disturbing to see that it's getting any attention at all. But people are still sort of it's getting this media attention, and the legitimacy is crazy. If I was Denzel, I would be rather upset that he's basically using his stardom, because he's a much bigger star than she will ever be in terms of her notoriety in the journalism field. Let's just be honest, okay? She is using his stardom in order to bring more attention to her, and I absolutely believe it's because she has some motivation that we are unaware of yet, but we'll probably find out in the not too distant, in a not too far away future.
Here's what I think, actually. And this is the Katie Couric. Matter of fact, I ought to send her a text message right now and say, watch what I'm about to say. What Denzel Washington was actually trying to tell you, Katie, is look at me. Ask me. Don't group me with them. See, I think the mistake that we sometimes make is we fall into the Hollywood folks. Pull the transcript back up. I'm going to walk y'all through this so you can understand. And I'm going to put myself in terms of where Denzel is. So pull the transcript up, please. Some people say Hollywood folks should stick to acting. Right there. So let's break that down. She's saying some folks. I've gotten those type of questions, and then I go, who are some folks? Name some people. Like, what's the basis of the question? It actually is a lazy way for us to be able to ask the question, because what we're doing is we're not putting the onus on ourselves. We're putting it on some people. And then you say Hollywood folks. Well, who are Hollywood folks? Ingenue Ellis is an actress who lives in Mississippi. I know people who are actors who live in Atlanta, who live in New York, who live in Houston, who live in Nebraska, who live in different places. So also when you pull the transcript back up, please. When you say Hollywood folks, stop right there. What that means is I'm not placing you in the category with them. That's that other thing, because the phrase Hollywood folks actually evokes a particular thing in your mind. Oh, give you an example. And my panel I'll ask them, what are some of the traditional phrases we hear that define Hollywood folks? Y'all spit some out.
Elite, effete, left-wing, liberals.
Or what else? What else?
That was going to be what I used.
No. What do we hear? Limousine liberals. If you use that phrase, it automatically evokes Hollywood. Mm-hmm. Also, left coast, Hollywood.
Yep.
When in fact, the left coast on a map is the entire left part of the country. So what does that mean? Washington State, Oregon, California. Y'all, it's some conservative places in California, but that's not what they mean. See, these phrases are being used for a reason. Transcript, please. So when you say, he says, I don't know what Hollywood folks are. First of all, Hollywood is a town. There's some stars on the sidewalk. I don't know anybody from there. So that's like saying, calling you a type of folks. I'm not a Hollywood folk. I don't know what they are. She goes, let me rephrase the question. Are you one of those people? Boom, right there. First of all, why are you automatically going to one of those people? This is all you have to say. Transcript back up, please. Because you see, she was going down to the whole deal of, in terms of politics.
Yep.
It's all, what Denzel was trying to say is, stop associating me with everyone else. In fact, the interview was Denzel, Meryl Streep, and I think it was Lee Schreiber. I can't remember who the third person was. Meryl Streep is actually far more of a vocal activist. What Denzel is saying, ask me. Look at me. Look at me. Transcript. When she says, no, are you an actor who would rather, he goes, stop. I'm a human being. My job is acting. What Denzel was saying, Katie, look at me. And simply say, Denzel, why aren't you more vocal on politics? What's behind it? I'll give you an example. Do you remember when their son was interviewed by Craig Melvin on NBC for Black Klansmen? And remember when Craig Melvin asked him the question, John David Washington asked him the question about being the son of an actor, Denzel Washington. He had to gently check Craig Melvin, because Craig Melvin forgot his mama is an actor. Mm-hmm. Paulette Washington. See, that, Avis, to me, is what I think what Denzel, it wasn't he was having a bad day. What Denzel was saying, see me for who I am. And don't bring in everybody else. So ask me, and don't use these phrases as a crutch that somehow now puts me in a box. That, I think, Avis, is what he was trying to say.
I think you hit the nail right on the head. And that makes sense in every sense of the word, especially since we all know that's the reality and struggles and the experience of Black actors I would say, are discernibly different from the Hollywood life that she was in, the Hollywood experience that the typical white actor and white actresses have. And so in trying to sort of lump him into this big sort of a Hollywood muddle, she was putting him in that same experience. And I would bet my last dime that he had a discernibly different experience in Hollywood than some of his peers who are in that same industry. And so I can understand why he's saying, don't just sit here and lump me into some of this sort of abstract Hollywood notion that I don't align with, that doesn't reflect my life, doesn't reflect my values, doesn't reflect my experiences, does not reflect my history. See me and ask me the question. And that's exactly the stance he should have taken, because to do otherwise would have been a misguided assumption.
And that, I think, for so many people, not really understanding this whole notion of look at me. So it's no different than Rob and Kelly if you're interviewing a musician, and it's like, whoa, don't associate me with them. Talk to me. Don't group me with what? No. Talk to me. I'm not them. I'm not. If I'm interviewing Chuck D, I'm not asking Chuck D about what Lil Wayne, what Migos, what 50 Cent, what Boosie. Chuck, like, whoa, that ain't me. How they roll, not how I roll. That, to me, I think is really what my man was saying.
Yeah, look, I actually think this is very simple. She knew that too. Again, she's looking to promote herself right now, look like the victim, and she knows that it would get play. She's talking about Denzel Washington, and she wanted to. And it's even better if he says something about it, because then the story continues. It continues. She's definitely doing this for promotion. There was nothing wrong with how he answered that question, and I don't really understand her outrage. I just don't, and I have no sympathy for it. Zilch.
So I do want to play. I think this is the clip, Kelly, where John David Washington was talking. Where John David Washington was talking about his mother, and it was sort of like, don't just narrow this whole thing down. Okay, so watch this.
As you got started in this business, being the son of Denzel Washington was...
And Pauletta Washington.
And Paul, thank you. And
who was earning more money than he was when they married, before they got married. She was on Broadway working. She paid for the first date. She paid the bill, paid the cab ride. So, a classically trained pianist, went to Juilliard. She's a great artist in her own right, and I learned a lot from her. My father taught me how to hunt. My mother taught me how to love.
This portion of the interview.
That is what happens when, one, you listen to your subject and you don't simply put them in a box, Kelly.
Absolutely. Actually, that's one of my favorite interviews from John David Washington. During that time, when he was on that press cycle for Klansmen, he had to say that a lot to quite a few interviewers. And it was a little bit disheartening, because either way, let's just say that these reporters did their jobs, actually did thorough research and said, the son of Denzel and Pauletta Washington. You're still limiting an actor who is making his way up, who has a body of work in his own right. You're still limiting him to whatever his parents did. You're still limiting him to someone else's body of work. And then worse, you're limiting what he wants to do with what his parents did. So it's one of those things where you have to let people be who they are, and understand that just because you're affiliated with one group of people doesn't mean that you are that group of people. You are your own individual. And I see this a lot when it comes to people interviewing Black people as a whole. It's like you limit them to just being a singer. You limit them to just being an actor or a dancer or something in entertainment. And the implication therein is that you're not smart enough to reach this level of intellect that I'm trying to engage with you. And that's just entirely false, specifically when it comes to Denzel Washington. So the fact that Katie Couric even went there, the fact that the implications were just there in general, she was definitely doing a Becky. I like Becky over Karen. I feel like we should replace Karen with Katie altogether just because of this debacle. But yes, I agree with that.
Last point here, Robert. You know what? I really think, Robert, I really think what Katie Couric should do is go back and actually watch the interview again, and then take what Denzel said and then say, let me put myself in his shoes. I think she would understand it maybe a lot different. But when I read the transcript, I saw it and I went, yeah, I know exactly. And the reason why I find it to be interesting is because, and this actually happened. There are times when we interview people and they got attitude. They got attitude and they have a bad day and they don't care. I mean, two that come to mind for me was when I'm telling y'all, this actually happened. I'm working the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, City Hall reporter. Khalid Muhammad is coming to Fort Worth to speak. This was after he got suspended by Nation of Islam's leader, Louis Farrakhan. And Khalid Muhammad is from Houston, Texas. And I'm writing a profile on him coming. So I'm asking him questions about growing up in Houston, wanting to be a Baptist minister, going to Xavier University. And he is not being cordial. He's being extremely defensive. He goes, what's up with all these personal questions? So I had really gotten tired of, and this was a newspaper interview, so it was audio. I had really gotten tired, and I could tell the edge that was in his voice. And normally, Robert, the subject says, let's go off the record. I chose to go off the record, Robert. And this is what I said. I said, man, let me tell you something right now. I don't give a fuck about you, bean pies, bow ties, or nothing else, and your bald head ass. I said, these folks got your ass looking like a devil out here. I'm the only black male reporter in this whole newsroom. Don't nobody give a damn about your ass coming to Fort Worth and giving a speech. And you got two choices. You can answer my questions, or you can look like a damn fool when you bring your ass here with all the people surrounding you. Now, what your ass want to do? He goes, let's go back on the record. And from that day on to the day he died, a brain hemorrhage, he told his staff, whenever he called, you put his call through. It happened with Skip Gates. Skip Gates came to Texas A&M. I'm a student. I'm working on a story. And Skip was having in one of them moods. And I put that tape recorder. I said, look, man. I said, don't nobody give a shit about you coming to College Station. I said, in fact, they didn't know who the hell you were when I brought your damn name up. I said, so, you can talk to me? I said, but guess what? If you don't talk to me, this not going to be in tomorrow's paper, and everybody going to be fine. You could just walk through this town and university with nobody know your ass was here. So you can have a little funky little ass attitude. You can answer my questions. We went back on the record. Now, obviously, Katie Couric wasn't going to do that with Denzel right there because they didn't have limited time. But sometimes you got to go there as a reporter. But I saw what I was feeling. I figured out real quick what Denzel was saying. That ain't hard. That's called being attentive to your subject.
Well, but even beyond that, even if Denzel did have an attitude or wasn't feeling it that day, so the hell what? He's a human being. He does not have to be juggling and smiling and kikiing for you just because you're interviewing him. You have a job to do. He has a job to do. Do your job. Why are you bringing it up 16 years later saying that he hurt your feelings by not being as cheerful as you thought he should be? The level of privilege associated with this commentary, the level of dehumanization of somebody, of Denzel Washington in this case, as if he owes Katie Couric something just by the simple nature of her honoring him with the right to be interviewed by her. I think that's the most peculiar aspect of it to me. The fact that she thought that he owed her some level of submission just because she's asking him questions. I find the whole thing ridiculous.
All right, then. And I love the person who's like, interesting considering Khalid Muhammad is not here to contradict or confirm Roland's version of the events. All you got to do is call Hashim, his right-hand man with the new Black Panther Party, since you want somebody to confirm it. Don't try me. Don't try me. It actually happened. Every single night. We've got some of the top Black experts. You're not going to see them on cable news or broadcast news because you swear Black people aren't experts when it comes to this health crisis. That's why we have this show and why we do what we do every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Joining us right now is retired General Russell Honore, the nation's first Black Surgeon General, Dr. Joycelyn Elders.
John Hope Bryant, he's the founder of Operation Hope.
Senator Kamala Harris of California, Dr. Cedrina Calder, retired General Lloyd Austin, Congresswoman Karen Bass, Commissioner Omari Hardick, Bureau President in Brooklyn, Eric Adams, Dr. Joseph Graves, America's Wealth Coach, Deborah Owens, Dr. Corey Abear, Patal Saul, Howard University student, Pastor Jamal Bryant, Dr. Christy McDowell, Benja Ajilore, senior economist at the Center for American Progress, Gilda Daniels, again, author of the book, The Crisis of Voter Suppression in America. 4 stars, General Kip Ward, Dr. Oliver Brooks is president of the National Medical Association, president of the American Medical Association, Dr. Patrice Harris, Joby Benjamin, Dr. Alexia Gaffney, infectious disease specialist, Dr. Georges Benjamin, executive director of the American Public Health Association, Malcolm Nance, family medicine physician, Dr. Jen Cardle, Dr. Tashaka Cunningham, a molecular biologist, Kat Stafford. She's a national race and ethnicity reporter for the Associated Press. Dr. Wayne A.I. Frederick, who is the president of Howard University, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke from the state of New York, William Spriggs, AFL-CIO economist, Andrea James, executive director of the National Council for Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls. All right, let's go to Capitol Hill. Congressman Gregory Meeks, Congresswoman Eddie British Johnson of Texas, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, mental health clinician Jamie Singletary, Prince George's County State's Attorney Aisha Brayboy, as well as Dylan Hayrie, ACLU Justice Division strategist. Dr. Cindy Duke, she is a virologist. Principal Steve Perry of Capitol Prep. Health and wellness specialist Dr. Yolandra Hancock. Desmond Meade, president of the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. Cliff Albright, who is the co-founder of Black Voters Matter. Michael Harriet with The Root. Mina McWhorter, founder of Love by the Hand. Dr. Julianne Malvo, economist, president, Emerita Bennett College. Coroner Michael Fowler is the mayor of Atlanta. Keisha Lance Bottoms, mental health therapist Suzette Clark. Justin Gibney, attorney and political strategist, and Bishop Vincent Matthews Jr. Dr. Suzette McKinney, CEO and executive director of the Illinois Medical District. Dr. Leon Madugal, president-elect of the National Medical Association. Jana Bailey, mayor of Moss Point, Mississippi. Mario King. We're going to keep driving this thing to make sure our people are fully aware, safe, protected from coronavirus. You're getting the top medical experts, the top business experts, top political experts, top religious experts, because that's why we do what we do. Unapologetically and unfiltered. Ain't nobody else in the Black media space doing what we do. Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.